And I'm back again for Miami Car Week. It's MODA 2026. I'm here in Coral Gables for an exciting weekend yet again, checking out the MODA show among many other stops we'll make, but the first one is stopping here at the Biltmore Hotel to check out the 2026 RM Sotheby's auction preview. They've brought out a ton of the cars, I think all the cars, that are going up for auction on Friday, February 27th. So of course I need to stop by and get a first-hand look at some of these incredibly rare machines, and I hope you enjoy. There are truly so many insane cars here out on display. I'm only gonna have time to go through some of my favorites and the highlights. So let's just kick it off right here. This LaFerrari you're looking at is a development prototype from the early stages of the car before it was brought into the supercar line. So this is going up for auction, and you see the development, look of this thing with the mismatched wheels and unpainted body panels and so on. And then we have Ford GT Heritage here, and there's also an original Veyron over there, and we have a 993 Gunther Works Speedster right there. But I'm drawn to some amazing things over here. So this is an SLR 722S Roadster, the limited high performance model of the SLR in Roadster form, with the extra touches from what eventually was sort of McLaren MSO. Back when they collaborated on this car, they gave this an extra touch for the 722S models. And we've got an original 05 GT Heritage model here next to a Ferrari 365. And then this is pretty interesting. Not many cars out there that basically are a special edition of another model from the same brand. And that's what we're looking at here. It's the AMG GT Black Series, the P1 edition, for what was at the time the deposits going forward to the Mercedes-AMG Project 1 F1 based hypercar. The people that put deposits on that special hypercar could also be given the opportunity to purchase one of these, marked by the Formula One inspired livery with the Mercedes-Benz stars transitioning from the back to the silver paint job and the AMG Petronas sort of teal coloring that's bordering the rims and some other areas by the rocker panels. That's pretty cool to see. I mean, otherwise it's an ordinary Black Series, but it's a very rare iteration from a specific point in Mercedes modern history. I think there were only 25 of these. And then we have F12 TDF, Porsche Carrera GT, and the modern 911 Sport Classic from the 992 gen with some heritage sport design livery on it, it looks like. And then here's a closer look at that Gunther Works Speedster. Such an incredible car. Just love these builds. Fully bespoke, of course. Very cool. Some more wild stuff in this row here. Have to take a look at one of my favorite Aston Martins, or at least one of my favorite Zagato and Aston collaborations, which was the Vanquish Zagato from some years back before the current Vanquish, but they made 4 different body styles for this collaboration. There was a traditional coupe, there was the Volante, there was the shooting brake, which is very cool, then there was this, which is the Speedster model. And I believe this is the rarest of the 4 by production numbers. 25 or so of these compared to 99 of each of the other body styles. So very unique opportunity to see this one up close with the bespoke carbon fiber Speedster humps at the back there. And then over here, we've got SE30 Viola Diablo. Saw one of these at Curated last year. Always cool to see these. Next to something really wild. This is a Isdera Imperator 108i Series 2. A very odd German vehicle that's powered by a Mercedes-Benz V8 mid-mounted, and just super bizarre looking. I think this is actually sort of the facelift car, hence the Series 2 designation. They made some before this in very small numbers. And of course, gull wing doors, just looking insane. And you can see also at the back, you've got the recognizable Mercedes-Benz taillight units from the era of production that this was made in. And the unique Isdera badge right there. And totally interesting cockpit style interior I don't see many Mercedes-Benz parts sharing at first glance, but I'm sure there's some lurking in there. And I have no idea what the production numbers are in this, but it's incredibly rare. And we've got Ferrari 575 Super America. Very cool to see that. Revuelto. SF90. Oh, here, this is cool. This is the Diablo SVR. I think a one-make series at the time, but this was Lamborghini's first factory-provided race car. Later followed up by the Diablo GTR, based off of the GT, one of my favorites. But this was first, the SVR. Awesome. And then here, this looks like the McLaren 720S GT3X, which is, of course, built on top of the GT3 car that they took racing, but the X designates the limitless setup of this vehicle, meaning it specifically does not comply with the GT3 regs of the normal car. This is sort of McLaren experimenting with what Ferrari call their XX program and giving clients an opportunity to purchase a track-only vehicle that can be shipped around for track use, but not actually used in any race series. Anyway, moving along, I think this is obviously an SLS, but yeah, it's a final edition, GT final edition model, so rarer trim and configuration on that one. Very cool to see that. And just looking around, more classics. We got a highlighter yellow Mura here. Very interesting spec on that DBS over there. That looks to be a 770 Ultimate model that they made at the tail end of the production run for this generation of the DBS, with those very recognizable, almost like spider web wheels in a rather polarizing yellow here, along with some other touches on the trim and carbon fiber pieces. It's actually a Volante model, so that's pretty interesting. But of course, there's an F40 right next to it, one of the gods. Can't ignore that. Oh, here, and one of my favorites, this is a Bentley Continental SC, back when they were the big body coupes before they introduced the Continental GT of the modern era. We had this, and that is just so cool. The touch of the wide body fenders on this just looks so right. Always love those. Don't think I'd ever want to own one, but damn, it's got so much attitude. Love that. Got a Porsche 968 Roadster there. That's cool. It looks like we have one of the coupe Vanquish Zagatos over here. Or actually, is this? No, this is not the Vanquish Zagato. This is the, what did they call this? The DBS GT Zagato. This was the car that they made in sort of a pair with the continuation series of the DB4 GT Zagatos. I think the situation was if you bought one of those, you also got this as a package, or at least the opportunity to include it. So that's a very rare one of 19 Zagato models from Aston Martin, based off of the most recent DBS as the starting platform of this vehicle. Very interesting flake in the gray paint here, sort of like gray-blue paint job. And the back, very cool, but clearly, hence my initial reaction, takes a lot of the design inspiration from the following Vanquish Zagato, with the this rear like carbon fiber valance and those sort of like turbine style taillights. Almost look like jewel pieces. That's really cool. But wow, yeah, that's pretty special. Never seen one of these before. That's a rare one. Then we got 488 Pista, it looks like. Oh, next to a speed tail. Next to, oh my God, this is, wow. All right, this is a weird one that I don't actually know much about, but this is Saleen S7, obviously, but it's the S7 LM. To celebrate, of course, their success earlier on in the GT1 championship at Le Mans, Saleen sort of like recommissioned some of these, and I believe these are not net new cars, but just, you know, existing S7s that they converted into LM spec, quote unquote. I'm not really sure how exactly this worked. I think it was around like 2017, 2018, and there's less than 10 of these from what I've heard. Obviously, it just looks more aggressive and, you know, a little modernized in some of the styling areas compared to the prior, or the original S7. So they added you know, some of these splitter points and other vents and canards, and looks like some carbon fiber touches. It's very interesting though. Again, I don't really know much about these or how many they plan to make maybe, but cool to see nonetheless. I've always loved the S7. Then it looks like we have an 812 Competizione A, the Aperta model. One of 499? Forget how many exactly. And a Testarossa. So insane lineup of cars over there. And then we turn to some real heavy hitters over here. A Huayra. Looks to be a Huayra Roadster, 1 of 100. Really nice spec on that. And then one of my personal favorites right here, the Bugatti Bolide in the launch spec of the French Racing Blue over the black. Their insane track performance, no limits car using the W16 engine before the Chiron platform bowed out to make way for the Tourbillon. We have the insane Bolide. And my God, I just have no words for the design on this car. I just think it's so incredible. It just looks like the ultimate track monster. I mean, look at the rear aero alone. Just, there's big wings, but then there's this, which is like a massive aero assembly coming from these rear tail fins up to the adjustable, or the active, I should say, rear wing itself, with the central shark fin connecting it over the engine compartment. These massive exhaust tips arranged in the quad configuration there. I mean, look how, like, for scale, those are huge. And then I also just love, it's almost like it reminds me of the Star Wars X-Wings here at the back with this design of the taillights that sort of come in as an X when it's turned on and running. Massive, massive rear diffuser there. Just so insane to see one of these up close. And this is actually a production, you know, car here. I think that they make 40 of these. I did see, I think, a pre-production model at Goodwood years ago. Goodwood Festival of Speed had an all bare carbon one before they started actually making deliveries to customers for the Bolide. But this is a customer car being auctioned off. Love that. That's probably my favorite of the day. And we've got a real interesting one-of-one situation over here. McLaren Senna GTR LM25 converted to road legal spec by the masters over at Lansante in the UK. So the LM25, I think itself already one of like 5 or 7 made to commemorate the McLaren victory in 1995 of the F1, making a commemorative version of the Senna GTR itself, already a track-focused version of the Senna, and then they take it and make it road legal so that you can drive this behemoth out on the streets, which must be quite the experience. And again, just love the entire rear end design and aero work that they put on these things. Just looks otherworldly, really. You can see so much here, exposed areas that they've removed bodywork and grille and mesh to see right into the engine compartment, and the exhaust work that comes up through the center, of course, and these carbon fiber fins that you can see right through. Just so cool and insane to think that, again, you can take it out on the road. Lansante have been converting a lot of these McLarens specifically and other track-only models to road use, but they really stop at nothing to make sure they tackle every special model out there. Some other special cars here up in the front row. A Ferrari 812 Competizione Coupe, one of the 799 coupe models. Very unique spec on this one, almost like a frozen brown, bronze, like deep burgundy, kind of a mixture, very interesting. Next to one of the old 3.8 RSR Porsches and Ferrari 250 GT California. And one of my favorite vintage racers, the Porsche 906 Carrera. Very cool, love the design on this. And then moving into the grandfather of the hypercars, we know it, the Veyron original 16.4 model. And a GT40, looks to be maybe a Mark II or Mark III car. And then here's something pretty interesting, the Aston Martin DB4 GT Zagato. But this is a continuation series car. I had mentioned earlier that these were paired up with the 19 examples of the, I think around like 2020 was when they made the DBS GT Zagato from Aston Martin. That got paired with this as part of the continuation series that they were doing. Similar to the DB5 continuation, they did this with one of their most famous Zagato-bodied partnered vehicles, and one of their earliest as well, with the DB4 GT Zagato. I'm no aficionado on these, so I don't know how to tell that it's not an original, but it looks pretty convincing to me. Cool to see that along with its cousin that we saw earlier, the DBS GT Zagato. All right, well, that was a quick look at the RM Sotheby's auction preview here for the MODA Miami weekend in 2026. Some insane cars that I will likely never see again. That Isdera Imperator is insane. That's probably one of the wildest cars here. And then, of course, my Bugatti Bolide is probably the favorite of the auction set here. But these will all be going up for sale for the auction happening here at the Biltmore Hotel on Friday. And then we kick off MODA weekend. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the preview and stick around for more content from MODA 2026.